In other words, like if then people have the option to,
hide themselves.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, who's going to see this?
We post on YouTube. So anybody that views our YouTube videos would see all the names.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Well, we have started the recording, so let's go ahead and get our session started tonight. I want to welcome everyone to Showtime's workshop tonight on exploring the Pathways leadership track. Is Lynn Brazier still in the house? Oh no, she must have turned her video off. Lynn Brazier is your current educational chair for Arizona Toastmasters or District 3 Toastmasters, and she now leads anything around the Pathways training and answering Pathways questions and so forth. But she inherited part of that role from my term as the Pathways chair, and this is a presentation that I put together about a year ago to help people find the leadership projects in Pathways. So that's what we're going to be talking specifically about tonight. Many people who have been Toastmasters for a number of years miss the Competent Communicator and the Competent Leader manual because they have trouble finding where those things are in the Pathways program. And that was the brainstorm for this session, was to make sure that everybody got a deeper tour of how to find the leadership programs. So if we are going to accept the retirement of the legacy program that occurred last year, then you may remember or not that the Competent Leader was a series of 10 projects, each one having some degree of leadership focus. It was introduced in 2006. It's not part of the original program. It came much later. There were 45 defined roles that you'll see on the left-hand side there, but not all of them were dedicated to leadership skills, which was a bit of a misnomer then for the Competent Leader Manual. In fact, there are only 2 competencies on the list of 45 that required actual leadership practice, and that was in project number 8 and project number 9 with motivation and mentoring. There are 2 others that made leadership optional, not required, in order to complete the project. And that was number 6 in organization and delegation, and number 10 in team building. The next step after the Competent Leader Manual was to become a club officer and actually practice leadership skills for a minimum of 6 months as a club officer in order to earn your Advanced Leader Bronze. But what the CL did accomplish for the educational program was to take and raise the awareness of the leadership side of our program. Yes, we are a communication and leadership organization, but the focus was primarily on communication and not on leadership. And that's where the Competent Leader really needs to be appreciated for the awareness that it increased in the leadership aspect of Toastmasters. Now we have Pathways. And in the Pathways program, you'll see over on the diagram on your left that we have 2 areas, 2 competencies that focus primarily on communication, and we have 2 that focus primarily on leadership. We've divided the leadership aspect into 2 aspects, one for strategic types of leadership and the other one for more managerial types of leadership. And to correspond with these 2 competencies, you'll see 4 paths over here on the left that truly do have a leadership focus. But you're still saying, that's only 4 paths. I want more leadership. Well, On the surface, it would seem that it's somewhat improved, but not really. But if you dig deeper, you'll find that there are actually a whole lot more. Where are those leadership projects? Well, I have 4 reveals to share with you tonight where we're going to find a total of 27 leadership projects within the Pathways educational program. We'll start with leadership fundamentals. You'll find these in path levels 1, 2, and 3, and they are clearly a salute to the Competent Leader Manual. In level 1, which is exactly the same for all members, there is an evaluation and feedback project that requires that the member provide feedback to another speaker as an evaluator. And that completes the evaluation, the speech evaluation element. In levels 2 and 3, there is an active listening project that sometimes is a requirement, sometimes is an elective. But the objective for that project is that you work on your active listening skills by becoming the topics master at one of your meetings. That completes another leadership aspect. And then by level 3, every member is expected to have completed the role of Toastmaster as well. This is not easily found in the documentation. And it's one thing that when I'm talking about leadership projects in Pathways, I like to make sure vice presidents of education know that there is this requirement that before a member moves from level 3 to level 4, that they have fulfilled the speech evaluator, the Toastmaster role, and the topics master role in their meetings. Member mentors and base camp managers, or in fact, all club officers, should be aware of this requirement and encourage members to complete these 3 meeting roles before they move on to level 4. So let me pause here and see if there are any questions. Are y'all out there? Thank you. Just checking.
One question then.
Yes.
If we already went through the legacy program, do we still have to do that new to be a speech evaluator, Toastmaster, and table topics?
Well, in your base camp environment, you'll see that in the universal profile is where you log the dates that you have served in these roles.
I see.
And so anytime that you're moving from level 3 to level 4 in a path, then you are expected to have completed those 3 roles before you enter level 4.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Trish,
Bobby.
I think Trish, are you there?
Yes.
I feel like this is too advanced for me just stepping in. This is already jumping, right?
Well, it's introducing you to some of the basic things that you'll hear about in Pathways once you join as a member. And there's
Okay.
no harm in listening to see what kinds of things will be coming up for you in your Pathways education program.
Okay.
To simplify it and give you a little bit of a heads up, there are 5 levels in every path. The first 2 levels are considered fundamentals. So they are very similar across all the paths. In fact, level 1 is exactly the same for all 10 paths. So regardless of which path you end up choosing when you enroll as a member, you will have the same projects that everyone had for level 1 and very similar projects in level 2.
Okay.
Okay. Once you move into level 3, you'll be introduced to adding electives to your program, which will allow you to personalize your learning for the specific skills that you have on your objectives, to attain. So from levels 3, 4, And 5, you really get to do that personal touch and customize your education program.
Okay,
So that gives you kind of a big picture here.
I get it now.
Bobby, did I see your hand?
Yes, so with regard to logging these roles, speech evaluator, Toastmaster, and topics master,
Mhm.
when you complete a path, does that get reset in Pathways and you have to log again for your second path?
It does not get reset with each path completion. Some people, the idea here is that you can update these dates as many times as you want, but it will only record the latest date that you've entered.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
so I have done speech evaluator on numerous occasions, and I don't always go in and update, but I do periodically update so that the date stays fresh. I try to make sure that the dates are always current for my current Toastmasters year. So like the example that you're seeing here was a screenshot I took from 2019 to 2020. And I've already started updating them for the Toastmasters term 2020 to 21. Okay.
Trish?
Yes.
And where do you update them?
When you log into Basecamp, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's the place where you put your picture, if you want to put your picture, or it's a grayed out silhouette. And that is your link to your universal profile. That information is stored in your Basecamp environment. It is not part of your profile in your Toastmasters login. It's specific to Basecamp. And the universal profile allows you to personalize, add tidbits about yourself. If you're sharing peer-to-peer recognition or peer-to-peer evaluations within Basecamp, then people, it's like a social media site. You can tell a little bit about yourself where your fellow members can get to know you. But one thing that it does store is all of your meeting roles and the date that you have last performed them.
That's different from the name, right? That's because when you click on your name, it takes you to your pathways. I mean, to your
Right, depending on how you enter Basecamp, you may go directly to your transcript, or you may go to the Basecamp landing page that gives you options to go into your transcript or enroll in new things that are being offered to you, or access the awards, the awards that you've won, all your badges that you've earned from completing path levels.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Trish?
Mhm.
Trish,
Robin.
real quick. Yeah, where did you see that requirement about having to fulfill those roles?
It's in material that was provided to the original Pathways ambassadors.
Mhm.
And I believe it's also buried in the educational program Q&A or FAQs
Mhm.
on the Toastmasters International website. You kind of have to search for it, but within the FAQs is where I think I last saw it.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Just so I can point it out to people.
Absolutely. I think it should be front and center. I also think that systematically the system should trigger an alert to you that lets you know that you need to complete those 3 roles. So like I said, I think it could be a lot more obvious than it is, but that's one of the reasons why I like to include it in my presentation so that people are aware of it.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
I will share this. Just in the last 6 or 8 months, I approved a level. I went to approve a level 3 for someone, and we ran into a hiccup with it because they hadn't completed the 3 roles. I don't know if that's was just a hiccup for that particular member or whether they are implementing something that is requiring that you complete the 3 roles now before Basecamp will accept an approval on a level 3. Lynn, if you're here and you know any updates on this information, please chime in.
I have not heard any requirement to this point.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
All right. So more will be revealed, I'm sure.
To be continued.
Yeah, it's always to be continued. And that's not a bad thing. Part of the reason that Pathways is a good move for Toastmasters is the fact that it can be so much more responsive because it's online learning. It takes a lot less effort, a lot less time to update training materials and publish them worldwide. So
Right.
we will see better response time and more frequent updates, I'm sure, as the adoption level of Pathways continues to improve. Okay, all right, so let's move on then. Reveal number 2, the mentor program enrollment. Once a member completes level 2, then in any path, then they will be offered an opportunity to enroll in the Pathways Mentor Program. A lot of members don't see this option because they frequently don't go to the Basecamp landing page, and it will be displayed to the right on the landing page. You will see this area is a development for these optional kinds of programs that Toastmasters will continue to develop. But the first one that's being made to us is the Pathways Mentor Program. So remind again your member mentors and your club officers that are helping members with Pathways to give a member a heads up that once they complete their level 2, they will be provided the option to enroll in the Pathways Mentor Program and to look for that on their Basecamp landing page. And some people will say, oh, I don't want a mentor, or I don't really want a mentor. Well, that's okay. There's no requirement to complete the mentor program. But let me give you some ideas on why you should. The first one is it's a 3 project path. It's not a path. It's a 3 project program. A member is going to get credit for themselves, but the mentor program does not currently count towards any of the distinguished club goals. So they're doing it really for themselves. The other good thing about that is that means you can do it at your own pace. There's no hurry, get it done by a specific date. You really can take the time to explore this opportunity to its full extent. And when I enrolled, the very first project is a self-reflection project. It's about preparing to mentor, and it has you go through exercises or assessments to help clarify what your personal goals would be and what your interests are, as well as positive and not so positive experiences you may have had in your past with other mentors. It's an incredibly insightful exercise. And again, when Pathways was new, I said I was going to explore every nook and cranny of it to make sure that I got to see everything that was being offered. And I was so impressed with the very first self-awareness project. That exercise alone told me so much about who I was as a leader and a future leader that it really helped me uh, hone in on what skills I still needed to work on and where would be good opportunities for me to get that kind of experience. It really drove some big decisions for me in where I wanted to take my Pathways journey next. So I'm encouraging every member to at least enroll in the program and complete the very first project, the self-awareness project. If you decide mentoring is for you and you want to continue, then you will be challenged with 2 additional projects. The first one being a short-term mentor project where you will mentor a fellow member for 6 months in some specific area that they want to work with you on. So I found someone who wanted some knowledge that I had and asked them if they would participate as my short-term mentor project. They agreed. And so I was able to transfer some of my knowledge to them, as well as them getting practical experience trying to apply those skills. So that worked out very well. This is a short-term project you should coordinate with your Vice President of Education. It does not have to be a new Toastmasters member. Again, there's flexibility in pathways for projects being done within the Toastmasters organization or outside the Toastmasters organization. So I've also worked with a member who did their short-term mentoring project as part of a work situation. And I just stayed in close contact with them, much like a guidance counselor, keeping tabs on how they were progressing through the project. Okay. This would align with option number 9 in the previous Competent Leader program, where you were supposed to mentor another member. And so again, ties us back to those things that we loved about the Competent Leader program. Any questions about the first 2 projects? Okay. All right, then we're moving on. You're a quiet group tonight. That's very unusual. Why are you so quiet? All right. The last project that you, yes?
Do you want my reason?
Sure.
I didn't get much sleep last night.
That's a good one. All right, you're excused. Okay. The last project that you'll complete as part of the mentor program is a long-term mentor project. This will be 6 months minimum. And again, it's an opportunity. Most people will choose to mentor within the Toastmasters organization, but you can work with your VPE if you have a unique opportunity. The 6 months is expected and it is detailed in the project description. So no shortcutting here. VPE should really hold members accountable for meeting the minimum in both the short project and the long project, because that's where the lessons come in. There are assessments that will be done as closing activities for both the mentor projects. Feedback will be provided to the mentor by the protege, and feedback will also be provided by the, I probably said it backwards. The mentor will complete feedback for the protege, and the protege will also complete feedback for the mentor. And you are supposed to sit down and go through and talk through those things. And that's, again, where the really great learning opportunities come. Okay. So the projects are very similar. The biggest difference is in the time. Some of the folks that I mentored on short-term projects, I now am contributing as a sounding board for their long-term mentor projects. So that has been an interesting journey for me as well. But it has really reignited my passion for the mentor program within the world of Toastmasters. And I understand that not every member is going to want to be a mentor, but exploring the possibility is good learning. And I am going to encourage every member to at least explore the opportunity. Because this does not contribute to any distinguished club goals, this program can actually be done over and over and over again without having to re-register for another enrollment path. It lives in an archive or in an inactive state in your Basecamp once you've finished all 3 projects. You will be awarded the title of Pathways Mentor, not because you mentored Pathways, but because you completed the Pathways Mentor program. That will show up in your universal profile, and it will live with you forever. It's a certificate or a certification that you receive once and only once, but you can continue to go back and refresh your mentoring skills with the program because it continues to live in your Basecamp transcript. Okay. All right, Connie.
If you turned in under the legacy program that you mentored a new member, but you're still mentoring that member, could you use the same member for the advanced mentoring project?
If I were your VPE, I would not let you count the time served under the legacy program towards the minimum requirement. But if you are continuing, for example, if you mentored for 3 months and now you want to use it as the short-term program for another 3 months, you could do that. If you mentored for 2 months and now you would have to complete 6 months then to use it for the long term. Again, that would be double dipping if I allowed you to apply legacy work to Pathways. Does that make sense? But if you have an ongoing mentoring relationship, yes, as long as your VPE would approve of that situation, then you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Anything else about the Pathways Mentor Program?
Yeah, Trish?
Kathy, and then Robin. Need to unmute, Kathy. Click your microphone in the lower left-hand corner on your toolbar. Bobby, can you possibly unmute her? There we go.
Sorry,
You're
I didn't know I
okay.
was on mute. I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
Back to my question. It's kind of like what Connie was saying. I mentored a member and I was a club mentor under the legacy program.
Mhm.
Would you feel it's beneficial for me or to also go into this mentoring program in Pathways?
Absolutely. There was never any formal mentor training in the legacy program. This is full-blown mentoring training. It's excellent training. Again, you learn so much from the assessment in the first project if you really apply yourself to the exercise. And that influences then how you approach the short-term and long-term projects. So it's so much more focused because we never got anything like this in the traditional program.
Sounds good. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Robin.
Yes, I'm VPE in my club and I don't know much of anything about this yet. Is there somewhere where VPEs can get some information or advice on what it is we're supposed to be checking?
Yes. The letter that you see is the very first thing that is presented to you once you've enrolled in the mentor program in your transcript. If you can access that, if you have not enrolled yet, but you're eligible because you've completed your first 2 levels in a path, it's probably sitting in your option to enroll area in your Basecamp landing page. And you could go ahead and enroll, and then you can go poke around as much as you want in the program. If not, Robin, you've got my email address. I'll be happy to share some of the information with you, and that way you can kind of get started.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite there. I took a break.
And that's okay. This presentation that I'm going through tonight, I meant to tell you up front, has already been posted out in the Pathways online library. It's in a folder called Exploring the Leadership Program. And this page is quite readable if you print it out. So you've got a copy of the letter right there if you just download this PDF of this presentation.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thanks.
That'll certainly get you started while I'm in California and can't access my own computer anymore.
I just have a quick question. So as a person who's just stepping into it, what do I do? Do I just go to a meeting here? Do I go to a?
Yes, you would attend a meeting, pick a
Mhm.
club that you have a good reaction with and want to be a member of, and then you will get guided in enrolling in the Pathways educational program, and
Okay,
focus on getting through level 1 and level 2 as quickly as you can.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. I know this is all foreign to me.
It's farther. Yeah, you're getting a much higher level, of many other things that are available to you in Pathways, but
Right,
at least you can get a feel by listening to this on where you have the potential to go with our educational program.
right.
Mhm. Okay, let's move on to reveal number 3. Reveal number 3 is, how do you prepare to personalize your Pathways educational program so that you really get the education that you're looking for? Well, there's a lovely lady, um, uh, Julie, I'm sorry, got stuck on a different name. Julie Kurtz out of England is a lovely lady. She's quite elderly, but she's been a Toastmaster for years and years. And she has plenty of time and loves to produce sheets like what you're looking at right now. She takes a lot of Pathways material and breaks it down. I absolutely adore her. This was one I asked for permission to steal from her and read and do it in my own way. And I've of course shared it with her. But she did a lovely blog article on Begin with the End in Mind. And it was a story about a new member that someone had coached, and they coached them without realizing, they coached them on how to pick a path without really thinking about what the member would have to do to complete the path. And I like to bring this up when I'm teaching about the leadership roles. When you're looking over here on the left-hand side, it actually takes a path from left to right on the page from level 1 through level 5. And the important thing to notice first is how many of the projects finish, or how many of the paths finish with a high performance leadership project. 1, 2, 3. Now, for the folks that are on this call that have been a Toastmaster for a while, you know that the high performance leadership project from the traditional program is the high performance leadership project that is now a project within the Pathways educational program. And it's the same one as these 3 that I just pointed to. It's a level 5 project, required in 3 paths, optional in all paths. You know what effort it takes to complete the high performance leadership project. It requires that you form a guidance committee. It requires that you form a team that is going to help you deliver the project. And typically the effort is 4 to 6 months, 6 months being probably an average time on a high performance leadership project. So think about a brand new member tackling their very first path in Toastmasters and having to finish with a high performance leadership project. Now, if they came to Toastmasters to work on specifically on leadership skills and not communication skills, that's probably an okay thing. But if I were to choose the effective coaching path because it sounds good, sounds like what I want to learn about, do I really know that I have to finish with a high performance leadership project? So Julie's article was around begin with the end in mind. And it goes back to my principle of interviewing new members to find out why they're really here, what they want to learn, and how they, might best want to approach learning it. And I've had one member in the last year that when they joined, did want to focus mostly on leadership, but when I explained, they had chosen the innovative planning. That's the path that they wanted to choose. And I said, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the projects that you're going to be working on. And when I got to the level 5 high performance leadership project, they said, no, I don't want a 6-month project on anything. And I went, okay, there are other leadership paths options for you to choose from. Let's avoid the high performance leadership project then. So it's an injustice when we don't know how to help a member avoid what could be a project so challenging that it might actually discourage them from continuing in Toastmasters. And that's what Julie's article was about, and that's what this job aid or this coaching assistant sheet is about. This is also in the pathways, the D3 Pathways online library. It's with a copy of the presentation. The handout is there. It's available to anyone that wants to download it. And it's a good tool to keep available to you. I keep an electronic version on my iPad and on my computers so that if I'm at a club meeting, well, when we were in person, or if I'm attending an event or whatever, and somebody starts talking to me about leadership, I have this tool if I need it to go through the conversation. The other thing, and the other thing that I encourage VPEs or mentors to do is to schedule a sparking session with their members before they enter level 4. It's a good touch base because you just talked about why they had to do the 3 roles of Toastmaster, Table Topics Master, and a speech evaluation before moving into level 4. And level 4 is really where the electives come into play. So it's a good stopping or pause point to make sure they understand what the electives are and how they work, and help them make the right choices in terms of electives to add to their program. When a member is clear and confident in how they're going to utilize those electives, their educational program will remain exciting and motivational, and they'll continue to move forward then with Pathways Learning. But some of you may be saying, but Trish, I don't study all the nooks and crannies of Pathways. I don't know where all that information is. Okay, well, I made a flip side of this handout that includes some additional help. But let's talk about how you look at a project description first. All project descriptions for every Pathways project, for all 11 paths, all 5 levels, are all available in Basecamp under the resources, the tutorials and resources area. So you can access any project. It doesn't have to be on your path that you're working on right now. You can access any project description, and the key is learning how to read a Pathways project description. So you'll see over here on the left-hand side that the project description usually has a lot of white space on it, but there's a great way to use that white space. It will first tell you what the purpose of the project is. And in this one, you can see that you are supposed to do a volunteer or other type, do a leadership project within a volunteer or other type of organization. It'll also tell you what the focus that you're trying to learn here is in the overview. And I've got some things highlighted here for the lead in any situation project. And then it'll tell you what you absolutely have to do in order to complete this project, and it's all bulleted out. Now, these project descriptions and this layout applies both to leadership projects and to communication projects. So learning how to read a project description applies to every project that you would ever encounter in Pathways. Once you have looked at the project description, that's a great way then for you to decide whether or not this project is for you and whether or not you'd want to add it. So again, in this situation, lead in any situation, it tells you that it's going to be a minimum of 6 months in a leader role. You're going to do a 360 feedback from your peers as part of your closing activity, and you will be expected to give an 8 to 10 minute speech about your experience and or the impact of your 360 feedback, not about your project, about the feedback that you got and what you learned as a leader in this situation. Okay. These project descriptions and all these electives account for 24 of the 27 leadership projects that currently exist in Pathways. And wouldn't it be a lot easier if there was just a cheat sheet? Okay, round of applause. Thank you. I need a little round of applause these days. Okay.
I'm holding a phone.
Here is that cheat sheet. On the flip side of what Julie had created, I created the cheat sheet for all 24 of the leadership projects that are in Pathways today. It will tell you at the top the acronym that we're going to use for each of the paths when you're reading which path this project falls into, and then there is a breakdown of 4 different categories for leadership projects. Okay, the first one is where you do not have to have a team, and it is about you exploring more of your own leadership assessment, your own reflection. All right, so these are non-team projects. So again, they're good entry-level projects for people just moving into leadership. There is one in the category of being a team member. You are not the team leader. You must learn how to work with other people on a team. That's part of the leadership practicum. So there is one of those projects available. It's in Dynamic Leadership Level 5 and also Team Collaboration Level 5. Then you have one-on-one leadership, such as mentoring roles or coaching roles. And there are 3 of those projects within Pathways. And then there are team leadership projects. And you'll see that's the remainder of the list of projects. But these are all going to require that you form a team of some kind or some size and deliver something as a group, and you are the leader of the team to make sure that those things happen. So what can you glean from this? Based on the project that you are looking at on the left-hand side, before you even go to a project description, it will tell you, I have to kill this slide. It will tell you the size of the team that is required in the first column. 0 to none, 3 to 5, 2 to 4, gives you an idea of how large a team that you would be responsible for working with. Then it's going to tell you whether or not it has to be a Toastmasters project or if it can be something outside of Toastmasters. So that's basically a yes, no. And if it's not in or out, it will also denote that it's something like a role play that you will complete. All right. The next one is whether or not it includes the 360-degree feedback. Some people are very nervous about getting feedback from their team or their peers in an activity like this. But 360 feedback is really how you grow as a leader, because you need to understand how people have perceived you as a leader. And that's why it's so valuable. But because some people are gun shy still in early stages of leadership development about 360, a quick glance in this column will tell you whether you are required to do it or not. The next one will tell you what paths that project can be found in and what level within those paths. So that takes you back to the acronyms at the top that will tell you, and then the number tells you what level it is. So a PLL4 is a, help me out here, or PI, I'm sorry, would be persuasive influence level 4. Okay. Or an ECL4 would be effective coaching level 4. And that's where you'll find it. And then the last one is, it will say, the last column will tell you whether it's an elective or it's a requirement, right? So if it's an elective, it will tell you at what level it's an elective. And if it's a required project, then it will be no, because it's not offered as an elective. Okay. All right, so there's got to be some questions here.
Question.
Yes, Connie, and then
Okay.
Kathy.
Okay, so going back to the first, there's 8 paths that do not require an HPL. So you could get your DTM without doing an HPL if you complete like the humorous and the presentation mastery.
Was the question, you can get your pathways DTM without doing an HPL?
Right, if you choose like humorous and presentation mastery as your 2 paths.
Technically that is correct, but let me tell you, the DTM project is a high performance leadership project on steroids.
Okay.
So you will not avoid the work that you need to do.
No.
You'll just pick it up in the DTM project rather than in the high performance leadership project. But imagine if you're on a path that includes the high performance leadership project, then you will do an HPL, high performance leadership project, and you will do a DTM project as well. So that's a true leadership commitment.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kathy? And then Tony?
Keep on forgetting I'm on mute. How does it apply for TLI functionary in any of these roles? If you were a presenter at TLI,
those opportunities are more likely to qualify for a communication project rather than a leadership project. If I'm a TLI presenter, the best case matchup that I could share with you would be from presentation mastery. The last level 5 requirement is to do a keynote type speech to an audience. And that would be a facilitator at TLI could be that.
okay, thank you.
Okay. If you were a leader on the one of the subcommittees on the TLI team, like hospitality or facilitator organization, that could certainly qualify on one of the leadership projects on the flip side of this that I was showing you. That would work, or even the TLI committee chair. That could also qualify then as a leadership project for you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
What
All
about
right.
what about if you're already involved in doing a fundraiser?
It would depend on how far along you are and what your VPE is comfortable with.
Okay.
I'm one of the tougher VPEs, so
So you'd
I
say
try not to
no.
make everybody live up to my standard.
No, too bad, Barbara.
Okay, Tony?
Yes, you mentioned that these are handouts. Where are they?
Out in the D3 Pathways Resource Online Library. And you can find that by going to aztoastmasters.org and clicking on Pathways. And then there are 2 links at the top of the page. It's a little deceptive. I asked them to change it, but they haven't done it yet. The second link tells you can access training presentations, Pathways training presentations that have been given throughout the district. And that's where you'll find it. Click on that link. That takes you into the library. And then there will be a folder specific for exploring the leadership program.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
also, if you download this presentation, when we get to the last page, I believe the links are there as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Lynn posted the link in the chat.
Oh, Lynn's so good.
Yeah, but where are we going to see the presentation? At the end, you have a link for that or what?
Yeah, when I get to, okay, when you go out to the D3 online resource library, the link that Lynn posted in the chat, because I can't see the chat right now, you'll see a folder when you first land inside the link, you'll see a folder called Pathways Leadership Explored.
Okay.
This presentation and the handout are in that folder.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
I understand. Thank you.
Gotcha. All right, Warren.
I know I've participated in this in giving feedback, but by definition, what is the 360-degree feedback?
Okay. Anybody that has completed it that wants to speak before I do? Okay, then I go. All right. When you complete a project, it will ask you to complete a closing activity. I led a small team of Toastmasters to complete a short-term deliverable. And at the end of that, I sent a blank feedback form to each of the members on the team and asked them to provide me feedback on how I handled the leadership role. They complete the form, send it back to you. As the leader, then you digest that feedback and you meet with your team as a whole or with them individually to discuss the results of the 360. Okay.
Okay.
In the
Thank you.
mentoring program, one of the closing activities for both the short-term and the long-term project is the same exercise where both the protege and the mentor will fill out a 360 on the other person. And then you're supposed to meet and discuss those feedbacks. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very helpful.
No problem. Okay, so a lot of people will ask me, so how does Pathways grow leaders? Our motto as an organization is where leaders are made. So how do you really do that? Well, the matrix that I'm showing you exposes all the Pathways leadership projects. There's 24 of them. Plus you have the 3 additional leadership roles of Toastmaster, Topics Master, and Speech Evaluator. That makes the total 27. You can, that is how we now can claim that we actually grow leaders, because before, even though we had a competent leader book with 10 projects in it, remember, there were only 4 projects that actually required that you do leadership, and 2 of those were optional. They were elective. You didn't have to do them. So 27 is a whole lot more. All right. The 24 is a whole lot more because the 3 were in common before. So that is how much more commitment has been made to the leadership development aspects of our program than what we had in the traditional program. So when considering opportunities now beyond your club, you can guide members to use the opportunities in levels 3, 4, and 5 to truly personalize and develop their leadership projects to help them focus on the skills they need most. And if it's large group management, you can use the handout that I created on the back of Julie's document to guide them towards projects as electives that require larger teams. If small team management is what they need, or they're just getting started as a leader, start them out smaller and guide them towards the smaller team projects. If they've not worked leadership at all, guide them towards one of the ones that doesn't require a team and let them learn more about their own leadership knowledge and leadership awareness before you let them move into electives that will require that they lead teams. I think we've all experienced this in our organization where we see people that have been thrown in as a committee chair or a subcommittee chair, and they really don't have any leadership experience at all. And they are being set up to fail because we have not taken the proper steps to prepare them for those leadership roles. I've been in Toastmasters since 1995. And I had mentors that would not let me do things like that. They encouraged me by guiding me into roles where I learned the skills that I needed to learn before I was in a do or die leadership role managing 20 people on a team. I've seen more members be crushed, demotivated, destroyed, by being forced into a role because, oh, well, we need a new face in that, in that role. But we aren't worried about whether they're qualified for the role or not. And we need to stop doing that to our members. The Pathways Leadership 24 projects give us the ability to truly have that farming system where we can grow and raise up future leaders for our organization. Remember also that now that a Pathways level is open content, meaning that you can work level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in any order. Just remember that you cannot submit them for recognition out of sequence. You must go for recognition. It must be done submitted in order 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But when it comes to working the projects, you can work them in any order. So if a member needs to work on it with a committee because they're trying to improve skills to get a better job in their work organization, then help them find the right projects that can improve that leadership experience and make them have a stronger resume. They'll love you forever. They'll love Toastmasters forever too, for having had that opportunity. Okay. Operation Little Bit is reveal number 5, and that's kind of what I was just talking about. Because you've got the list from no team members all the way up to a large team member, then you can truly guide someone and give them a little bit more with each project that they take on. And that way it's never overwhelming for them and they truly have the opportunity to grow slowly. It's like having training wheels on a bike. You don't start a kid off by riding a bike with no training wheels. And brakes, are they the brakes with the pedals or the hand brakes? The hand brakes are sometimes a little harder to work because if you squeeze them too hard too fast, you flip over the handlebars. So think about those kinds of things. And it's the same way here. We have the opportunity to give people what they can handle a little bit outside their comfort zone and then move them into another position like that, a little bit outside their comfort zone, and another one a little bit outside the comfort zone. And that way they maintain their confidence, they have high success rates, and they're much more motivated to want to continue to work the program. And on that note, a reminder that there are actually 27 leadership projects now in the Pathways program. 3 that are the basics that align with our old Competent Leader program, and the 24 that I introduced you to tonight. 9 of them will include the 360 feedback. So if that's something you're interested in, use this handout again to find those projects with the 360 feedback and go for them. And Tony, as promised, here are the links. So if you download this presentation, you will be able to get to the things that I was telling you about tonight. This one here, the tiny URL, D3 Pathways, is the Pathways online resource library. And again, in the folder called Exploring the Improved Leadership Track is where you will find both this presentation and the handout that I share with Julie Dahl. So on that note, I'm going to thank everyone for listening and paying attention tonight. And I'm going to wish you the very best journey through your Pathways leadership experience. Thank you very much for your time.
So,
Okay, this
Trish,
is the off mute open question time.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Connie mentioned in the chat that there was one of the slides had talked about a spark session with the
Yes.
VP. And is that to go over with the member a project, a mentoring project, or
Yes.
whatever kind of project?
Yeah, the sparking session is, I recommend the sparking session for between levels 3 and level 4. They've finished 1, 2, and 3, which are for the most part required projects and no electives. And now they're moving into 4, 5, and 6, where there are going to be electives to choose from and fewer required projects. So it's a good transition period where you can talk about, hey, instead of the program restricting you to these required projects, now you've gotten the fundamentals down, you've gotten the foundation laid, you're ready to now expand and explore the electives. It's a good, if you remember back in the competent communicator and competent leader, for those of you who are in the traditional program, you went through 5 projects and then you were supposed to meet with your vice president of education, and you went through the last 5 projects and then you were supposed to meet with your vice president of education again. Whether you guys really did all that, it was in the book and you were expected to do that. And I picked up a phrase at some point in my past adult life where we called those sparking sessions, where you just sat down with somebody. How's it going? What do you like? What do you don't like? What could I help you with? Here's what you're going to experience next. And so I still to this day call them a sparking session.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am going to take just a second here. Thank you, Trish, and thanks everybody for showing. It was good to see you all. It's 9:30 where I am, so I'm gonna log off. So everybody have a good evening, and Trish, thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, anyone else have any questions, feedback, comments before you take off? California's on Arizona time, so it's no change for me.
Very, very useful, Trish. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Great. Thank you.
A lot of work to do.
I enjoyed that too. It was very informative.
Good. You see all the opportunities that lie ahead for you, Barbara.
Yes, I do.
Barbara, are you in the Phoenix metro area? You said Chandler, I think.
I'm in Chandler. You're right.
Okay. So are you aware that Toastmasters International website has, when you first log in or bring up, toastmasters.org is the website, and there's a button right on that first page to find a club, and you can put in, a date, time, or a zip code or whatever, and it'll tell you some clubs that are available in your area and when they meet and where they meet, although we're all meeting online now. The reason I'm mentioning that is when you attend a club meeting, you don't have to join the first club you go to. You can be a guest as many times as you want.
Okay.
But Barbara, you should also consider checking out Showtime. You obviously found this workshop, and we'd love to have you come and attend one of our regular meetings.
Oh, thank you. I look forward to it.
Very good. Well, look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
And a lot of the faces that you're seeing are Showtime members. I am, Bobby is, Connie is, Tony is, Warren is. So lots of familiar faces already that you'll see in the room.
Oh, great. It always helps when you know somebody, right?
Yes, yes, it does.
And Barbara, I'm going to, well, let me just tell you my email if you'd like me to send you some information.
Why don't you put it in the chat?
She's on a phone. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
she's on a phone. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. Or either that or you could tell me your email either way.
Yeah, I can give you my email. Do you want my company email or do you want the, just my regular email?
Whichever one you'd like to get information about Toastmasters.
Bobby?
Oh,
could you
okay. I'll
use
just
the
give you the
VPC
company
email?
one. So that's bling, the word bling,
Mhm.
go, G-O, box, B-O-X, at gmail.com.
So I have BLINGGOBOX
Correct.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Thanks for sharing that, Barbara.
Oh, you're welcome.
And then I'm thrilled to see both Robin and Lori Carr visiting again. You guys just keep hanging out with us and you're fun. It's fun to have you both. Thank you so much. And then Lynn Brazier, who's hiding out behind her picture. You snuck in. You're eavesdropping on me.
Nobody I'd rather learn from than you, Trish. You know that.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Had to come in and hear it. And I did want to pop in and say thank you because I do have to run as well.
No problem.
Take care, y'all.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
content-
only 3 of the projects require the HPL.
I'm sorry, Lori?
I was surprised that only 3 of the projects require the HPL. I thought that was required for everything.
No, it is not required for every path. And the reason is because of the DTM project
Yes.
being a HPL on steroids, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everybody
didn't
wants to
know that.
do that kind of leadership work.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to end the recording now, but I'll still hang out for a little bit more if you need, if you have other questions. I just want to